And welcome to Pulp Mythos. I am Brian here with Spencer and Larry, and we're going to be talking about City on a Hill, Season 3, Episode number 1. Full spoilers ahead. Those of you who are returning, we're back. It's been about a month or so. That was not planned. It's been a hell of a month. I'll just leave it at that. But those of you who are new, welcome. We do all kind of cool stuff on this channel. Talk about shows. We love your input. We love the conversation in the comments below. Like I said, we're going to be talking about City on a Hill season 3, and we'll be doing this every single week. A lot of upcoming shows we'll be covering as well. Looking forward to Big Sky returning. Um, but yeah, didn't know this was going to get a season 3. Matter of fact, it seemed likely that it wasn't, and we were sort of bummed out about that, and it sort of surprised us when we heard it was coming back. One episode in, I'm very intrigued. It picked up pretty much right where the last season ended as far as everyone's storylines. Your guys' initial reactions?
I wa- I was super excited. Not just because the show was back and we weren't for certain whether or not it was even coming back, but like you said, picking up right where it left off. The fact that all the characters from the jump, their stories were intriguing. Like I wanted to know more about this piece of shit that we saw. I want to say that Jackie's new boss was in the season one, if I remember correctly. But you know, I want to learn more about him. I want to learn more about the the wife, which get into that shortly, I'm sure. But all the different characters, the new characters that they introduced, the drama that's clearly going to permeate through the whole season. The preview for the rest of this season, where they're showing what's going to happen between DeCourcy and Jackie. I'm really looking forward to all the characters and how they're going to intertwine at the end. And me and Larry had spoke about it before you had finished the episode, Brian, and we were talking about is Jackie an anti-hero, and we're like, I don't know. I think that Jackie's a full-blown villain. It's just somebody we like watching. Just like The Sopranos, Tony's not a good guy. He's not an anti-hero. He's a giant narcissistic piece of shit. But
That's a great
you
comparison too, character-wise.
you still root for him. You still want to watch him, but he's not a good person. So that's how I equate it, is that Jackie's not a good guy, but you still want to see where his character's going to go, and you still almost kind of root for him.
Yeah, yeah, I can't disagree with that. And and plus all his good moments are his moments where he does a good thing. As you mentioned, when we talked earlier, it's all, oh, this is for me or my family, or he sees himself in a person, and that's about that. Other than that, he can't be bothered to do good, even though, and we'll talk about this later. I feel like that's going to change this season. But like you said, it's great to have all these characters back, all the classic ones, and I think with this new season, it'll be interesting to see for once an antagonist with a lot of pull, and I mean a lot of pull, to where, like, legally, the question is like, well, how much can the law do to this person?
Yeah, we'll jump right into that. We opened the season with Jackie's out of the FBI. He's working at a bar. He's not doing much. His wife confronts him because he's out of money, and so he has to pursue. He has to find a job basically. So he hooks up with Sinclair, very powerful guy, and basically is hired to be his security. Decent rate. Jackie comes in, and throughout the course of the episode, we learn a lot of horrible things about Sinclair. Basically, his daughter's college friends, him and and this was the really twisted part, is at first I wasn't clear on the wife's role, but then it became clear that, okay, his wife is in on it, helps facilitate it. But basically, he takes these young women, drugs them, and then sexually assaults them. Dominique is the character that we're introduced to this episode, who's friends with his daughter. She ends up ODing and dies at the end of the episode. She's dealing with all the grief of what he did to her. Wasn't completely clear how much Victoria knows, his daughter. I guess we'll find out more in later episodes. But Jackie he's piecing things together. He's a good detective. That's one thing we learned about him in the last 2 seasons. He is good at his job when he wants to be. And what is he going to do? Because this is the setup for a great redemption arc, because Jackie's wife and daughter have both been victims. And so this is something that hits hard with Jackie. And so how is Jackie going to approach this situation? Plus, Jackie is an opportunist. And like I said, we see this a little bit in the trailer, but for the season, how's he going to maneuver dealing with Sinclair and maybe potentially helping his career as well? I don't know. Jackie's a complex character, but your guys' thoughts on the Sinclair storyline, what Jackie's going to do with it, and where it could end up?
Well, yeah, definitely. Like you said, he's absolutely going to take advantage of it. I'm sure, and it's the sort of thing where once again it'll seem like, oh, they forced Jackie out, but he's this hero cop, or at least that's the way he wants it to be set up. Like he's not even a cop anymore, but he's still doing good. We'll see how he maneuvers after that. Whether he goes into, a season after we're seeing Jackie in politics, or we're seeing him as like chief of police or something. You know, uh, but as far as this, Sinclair hired Jackie, having known Jackie, having worked with Jackie, assuming there is no line with Jackie Rohr to the evil that he'll do. But this is a line that Jackie has that, few people know about. So I feel like he's about to be very surprised at the response. But, it's Jackie, so he's not just going to come right at him. He's going to handle this smart.
When they first showed the Dominique character, I thought it was his daughter. I thought it was Bernadette.
That's what I thought.
And I was like, holy shit. And then my immediate thought after that was that it was, because I forgot who the character was. I thought it was Jenny's dad. I thought it was her grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first saw it, I was just like, oh, so this is how they're going to tie these two stories together. The grandpa and Jenny. So I wasn't sure how they were going to kind of wrap that up. And clearly they're not. They show, she's still dealing with it. When she went to talk to the priest, that was still weighing on her heavily. So I don't think that's how they're addressing it by any means. At first, my first thought was that's how they were addressing it. And then as the episode progressed, I was like, oh shit. It got way more complex real fast than what I originally thought it was. And just shows like this, there's episodes of The Wire that do this. There's episodes of a lot of shows that make me uncomfortable as a father of, I have girls. So seeing that kind of stuff really eats me up sometimes, but it to me creates deep characters, and it creates a conflict that somebody like Jackie, who's not a great guy, but like you said, Brian, the redemption arc, this gives him a chance to finally do something good and become the anti-hero. Me and Larry talked about him being the anti-hero. I think that he still could be. And I think that this could be a way that he turns that direction.
We have DeCourcy, the other half of the lead on this show, and he has an interesting storyline. Obviously it's going to tie into Jackie at some point. It always does. But we're basically, huh?
I said tie into Ghostbusters.
Well, yeah, I was going to get into that. It seems like a sidebar. So he ends up having to go to Brooklyn to see his father, who's played by Ernie Hudson, and he's dying of cancer. And so there's some back and forth conflict because he's not wanting to pursue medical treatment. Obviously, DeCourcy doesn't want his father to die. So we sort of have this storyline. I don't know the importance of it or how that's going to affect the rest of the season, but the main story that clearly is going to, I think, tie with Jackie is the fact that DeCourcy has the potential for a promotion, and he's got to sort of compete with this other person, a character, Blair, and so that's the storyline I think that's going to tie with Jackie. But yeah, thoughts on the Blair stuff, the competition, And the Ernie Hudson storyline. I'm assuming it'll only be, I don't know, a couple episodes maybe.
I wasn't a big fan of Shaban, so I was actually hoping. I've been rooting for this Blair and DeCourcy kind of relationship to kick off. I mean, I don't know that it will or won't, but my fingers are crossed as of right now. But I think that it's, once again, not just a competition, but making it to where it's clearly the I don't remember the regular DA's name, but he for him
It's like
to,
it's a weird name. Hold on.
well, he's from The Wire too, so like it's
Yes,
but
playing the same fucking character.
almost identical character,
Yeah.
which is hilarious to me. But for him to pit two people who are minorities against each other, one he's DeCourcy's messed himself up a couple times, but not because he did anything bad, but because he didn't want to necessarily play ball, which actually makes him a good candidate because he's not going to, settle in the courtroom for something that he shouldn't settle for. So all of these things are positive things for both of them. She was in Chicago, and I don't remember exactly the case, but the DA was super impressed with her and was talking about how she would do a great job. She looks great. Like her, not physically looks great, but like her resume looks great. She's done some great things. So all of these things are pitting them against each other. And I'm really curious as to which route they're going to go, if they're going to work together or if they're going to end up being like enemies because they're competing against one another.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. And one thing I'm curious to find out, and I think that'll be a deciding factor in all this, is like, is she as great in reality as she is on paper, or is that just what her paper trail shows? Okay, she looks good on paper, and that's where it ends. But she's done all these shady things to build that resume. Or is she as honest as DeCourcy is, or maybe somewhere between Guy Dan and DeCourcy. And I'm pretty sure the whole competition, like DeCourcy figured out from the beginning, oh, that's a scam to get him to work harder, to get him to do this and this and that, and not really, stand in Guy Dan's way, but that may work against him, especially if this thing that Jackie's job leads to the case we think it's leading to, and if he winds up working with DeCourcy on it, and if there's a big bust, and that's in the paper, and it was DeCourcy leading this thing that likely Dan wanted him to leave alone completely, then the question would be like, well, why would they promote DeCourcy? Like, because they're corrupt. That's why, and so it would look bad not to promote him. And this may be a big win for him if he gets it. And if not, if she's not corrupt, I see this potentially being a point where she gets the job, because it's also realistic, because we know that he hates DeCourcy. He would never give DeCourcy that job. But she's a better boss because she is everything that she is on paper, and that she wants someone like DeCourcy to do the things that DeCourcy has been doing through the past seasons. So if she's a good person, whether he gets the job or not, it's a win-win for DeCourcy, because DeCourcy can be good at his job. He can be honest either way.
We have another storyline that's sort of a continuation from last season, the end of it, in which I can't remember the brother's name, but one of the leads, I guess the antagonist, is executed by a cop. And then that cop's going down. And then Chris and his partner, who were involved in this, his partner gets killed in a shootout. It's assumed immediately that, it was, the guy they were pursuing that shot him. But then it's found that, no, it was a cop. It was a cop's bullet.
I assumed immediately it was a cop.
So that's complex, and I yet again I'm guessing this is also going to tie into maybe the DeCourcy stuff, specifically because of the competition essentially him and Blair are in for the job. So that's another thing that he's going to have to worry about. But it was interesting how much time he had in this episode and sort of doing that storyline and showing that these cops, if they feel betrayed, they'll execute other cops. And yeah, do you think it'll also tie into the DeCourcy stuff, or if it's going to be its own sort of side story, and Chris will just get a little bit of a spotlight this season?
That's a good question. It feels very much like it's its own thing right now, and it could, because there's enough there, because how many people in his own department can he actually trust now? And that's a big deal. But it could definitely tie into DeCourcy's whole thing, given his investigation and whatnot, and that Chris is the one that goes out there into the field and makes the arrests and everything. And if he can't trust his guys, or any of his people actively working against him, or trying to cause him the fail, or maybe even tipping off people that they're coming.
Yeah, I think that also depending on, because Boston has always been and I don't base this on any, like, I've never been there. This is based off of news reports, movies I've seen, the documentaries I've seen, that they're similar to New York. They, not just the judges, but the DA and everybody, the cops stand behind each other. The DA stands behind the cops. They're so loyal to their men in blue that it's almost going to look like Chris, by getting the one cop in trouble for literally executing somebody, and now he knows for a fact that another cop executed somebody else for tattling on a cop. That this is going to create a huge rift within the police force. And I'm curious as to if DeCourcy, I think that it's going to be the nail in the coffin for either DeCourcy or Blair, because I think it's going to be tasked to one of them to basically prosecute these cops. And I think whichever one it is, if it's DeCourcy, I think that the DA is going to basically tell him to throw the case, to kind of make it to where the cops aren't guilty. And it will either, he'll do it or he won't do it. And, well, like you said, Larry, Blair will get the job and he'll be forever stuck because he didn't do the dishonorable thing, the untrue act. So I am curious if that's going to be the route that they take as far as how they decide who gets the job.
That
Yeah,
would be a neat twist.
yeah, because DeCourcy is the one sort of moral character on the show. So I can't, you know what I mean? Like, he'll always wants to do the right thing. And so, yeah, him being put in a weird spot. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that, being, like you said, he's cornered and everything, and it's crap so bad and so against him that even he's tempted to do the wrong thing, and he does the right thing, and he loses, like you said, he loses the, so much support that it's like, oh, he's not going to get this job. But maybe Blair's honest. There's a chance of that. But they may surprise us. This may be the season where DeCourcy does the right thing and things work out for once.
Then I'll know it's the last season. I'll be like, got a happy ending. Shaban, I don't know where this is going, and this was the biggest storyline. I was like, I wonder what you guys think. It's the ACLU storyline, in which a guy was working construction site. There was an accident. He was hurt, and she's going to take the case and and try and get justice for him. I was, there was a couple scenes with it. It was going along. Okay, we had the scene, where DeCourcy was like, "Hey, I got to leave for a little bit." I don't know where this storyline's going. Maybe it ties into the DeCourcy Blair story as well, possibly. Her involvement in this case. I don't know. Any thoughts on that? It was the one sort of weird thing that stuck out. And I have another one after this that I thought I wasn't completely clear where it's going either. But any thoughts?
Well, I was listening for the name of the guy who owned the construction site, because I thought, okay, well, maybe that's the same guy, but I think they threw out like a different name. But they did mention that, that's also a guy that you don't want to be up against. So maybe there's ties, maybe they're not. Maybe Shaban has her own, sort of mob-related storyline going on this season. But right now it's so loose, it's hard to say if it intersects with anything.
I think that would make sense. Like you said, organized crime when it comes to unions. I'm assuming that because it's a construction site, they're associated with the union one way or another, and that is going to end up being a big deal. Because, like you said, you have Shaban now is basically going to be going against, once again, just similar to what I was saying with the cops. You have these people who are able to hire these super attorneys that are going to be fighting against Shaban. So she's either going to make a name for herself, or, similar to what I said about DeCourcy, the old nail in the coffin.
And then
And hopefully, oh, sorry, I didn't mean that. Figuratively, nail in the coffin, not literal.
The last sort of main storyline is the Jenny storyline, and it's fine. It makes sense. She bumps into, was it Doyle?
I think.
Yeah, the priest, and he's like sort of not doing the priest thing anymore, and they have their little conversation, and clearly it seems to be planting seeds that she has issues with her marriage, and so maybe she'll her and Doyle will hook up or whatever. But I just thought it was funny that they really the whole storyline at the end of last season involving the gun smuggling and all that stuff. They just didn't touch it. It's like they were just like, you know what, we're not going to do that story. It's over, and they just completely are going to take her in a different direction, which is fine. But I just thought it was funny that we thought if there was going to be a season 3 that was going to be the main storyline going forward, and it seems like the showrunners decided to completely scrap that. So I thought that was funny.
Well, I think
same. Oh, I was gonna say same here, to the point where I got mad when I saw him on screen, because I'm just thinking, like, if you don't do a damn IRA thing already, this is pissing me off. That there's nothing wrong with. Well, I mean, there is stuff wrong. He's got ties, but they keep hinting at it, and they're telling, and they're not showing us anything. He's like, I'm sure he very much doesn't want to be involved with it. He seems like an honest guy, like a good priest, but that trouble should still be there. Like we had the side story with the woman from the IRA last season. There should definitely be more going on with that. It just seems like a big thing to leave alone. So I definitely get what you're saying.
I don't know 100% that it's gone. I mean, I think that it could be very likely that it's not coming back, but I think that him not being in the priesthood could play into it. The fact that I know that never mind. I was going to say something else. But he seems to be a very genuine person. When he's going by kind of the indoctrination of what the IRA believes in, I think that he's doing it because he genuinely believes that what they're doing is right. I don't think that he feels like they're going to kill his sister or somebody's family, so he's doing it because he has to. I think that he genuinely believes what they're doing is the right thing, but I think that he also genuinely believes in the priesthood. Like, he believes in being honest and godly and doing all these things. So I think that last season, when he started to get feelings for Jenny and stuff, that put his faith at a test. He felt that he was doing a disservice to the priesthood by doing that. And I think that now that he's no longer a man of the cloth, that we may get actually more of the IRA stuff, as opposed to last season where it was kind of just hinted.
I have a feeling that that there's somebody listening, or or we could just check an article about this year, reference Boston, the year the show is taking place right now, and IRA, and there's something historical that happened that we don't know about. Just
some guns were ran, some bomb went off.
It's possible.
100%.
Yeah, because it was just funny that, because when I saw him, I was like, oh, okay, I was like, okay, where's this going? Because they picked up with the whole her confronting her father thing, and then that sort of didn't go the way she wanted. And I was like, okay, and then when she saw like the Doyle, I was like, oh shit, we're gonna get back into that, and then they didn't. It was just more of a hey, what's up? And so I was like, oh, okay. And then I started thinking about all the other storylines that were set up and thinking, okay, I guess they just didn't want to do that. They're like, we got other ideas and we're going to do that instead. Sure. But yeah, all in all, solid 55 minutes of entertainment. Very excited. I believe it'll be 8 episodes this season. Any other thoughts on the season 3 premiere?
Wow. Yeah. Um, I going into the Jackie storyline, and I don't remember the wife's name who's basically messing with them the whole time. I think that upon further reflection, the reason that she is the way she is with the help is to basically hold something over their heads, so that way, if they find out which Jackie's going to in about the first 10 minutes of the next episode, and then it's going to be him trying to deal with it. I think that she does those kind of things not because she's a dissatisfied wife. I think that she does it because it's power, like similar to the husband. And I just keep calling them husband and wife because I don't remember their fucking names. But and I'm
Sinclair, and I cannot remember her name.
I thought it started with the L. It was like Letitia or something. Or
It
like,
is. It is. I can't remember though.
Damn, look at that! Like, and I was just getting ready to talk shit about myself for not remembering, and I normally do.
Yeah,
And
none of
for
us
whatever reason,
recall.
it came to me. But
You should have seen me Googling Chris. I was like, what was that cop's name? Chris. I was like, Chris. Okay.
it's like it's
That's not
got to
a
be
cool
like,
name.
yeah.
Like everyone has like a cool ass name. DeCourcy, Jackie Roar. It's like Chris.
What's his name? Chris Smith. But I think that her character to me is going to be the out of the little like villains that are in this season. I think to me, just based off of this first episode, her storyline is going to be the most adversarial and the most interesting outcome, in my opinion, because how they're going to tie it up, how they're going to, is she the one that's going to be arrested, or is she going to basically throw, damn it, I forgot his name again already.
Sinclair.
There you go. I was wanting to call Skylar, but I was like, that's not right. But I think that she's going to throw Sinclair under the bus, and he's going to get arrested, and she's going to get off scot-free. But Jackie's going to have a problem with that. So that's what I'm most curious about, is how Jackie's going to react to all this, and is he going to focus more on Sinclair because of what he's doing, or Letitia?
It's like Letitia or something.
Oh
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look it up.
But
yeah,
I'll just call her Elle for right now. But I'm curious as to what he's going to go after her with. If he's going to give in to his more carnal needs, or if he's going to realize what she's doing and how evil she really is, and if he's going to end up going after her. So I am curious as to her role in all of this more than anything else right now.
yes, Letitia, and they're the Drydens. That's their last name, Sinclair and Letitia.
Well, yeah, and I have a feeling that you're absolutely right, for one, because like it was already kind of foreshadowed with Jackie's wife's friend when she was talking to God, I can't remember Jackie's wife's name right now, but when she was talking to her, she mentioned that Letitia was the one that you need to look out for, and I think she is, because like you said, everything she does seems to have other motivations, and all her actions, in particular around Jackie, they seem like they're a test, like there's some kind of test, and I think there's more to that. I think even like when their daughter says that there's that whole plot line with their daughter being followed home and everything, and the cameras were out and etc. Yeah, I do think that's her being a rebellious teen to some degree, that she did get picked up by someone, but I do think she was followed and everything. but I think that's potentially due to Letitia, and I think potentially even if there is going to be a connection um, DeCourcy's wife's storyline and this storyline, then Letitia's likely the one with the mob connections,
I
which would.
Yeah, I could see that. We got because what is it? She got into an altercation with a tennis partner or something, but it was hinted that they had an affair or something. But you make a good point, Larry, and I didn't bring that up. I sort of wrote it off, but there absolutely may be more to it. Was there someone pursuing his daughter? Is there actually a threat out there, or someone who's after this, Sinclair and his family, or yeah, because they set it up and then they oh no, she was lying, but yeah, well, why and what exactly is going on? Is there more to it, or is it nothing?
Yeah, and I think there's more. I think like Jackie has the truth, but Jackie has half the truth because messing with the cameras and everything that may be out of her purview. She may not even know how to do all those things, and she seems spoiled enough that she wouldn't even bother to probably mess with the cameras.
Agreed.
Yeah, she doesn't give a shit.
So I feel like that gap in time where the cameras were inactive, something else was going on.
That was a bomb ass little fruit salad she was making, though. Like shit, I need to get some fresh fruit in the house.
Well, the cameras being off, I assumed it was one of the other times that Sinclair was date assaulting somebody.
Yep.
That could be it.
I immediately assumed that that's what it was, and that she didn't know. She just assumed that she made up a story because she got caught being out when she wasn't supposed to. And I think that her story just happened to line up at a similar time. And the reason that they cut the cameras off was because as she was coming in, they were trying to sneak somebody out. So I think that that specific instance is almost like coincidental that it happened at that time.
That's another good point too. They mentioned because Dominique, and she woke up in her own place, so we saw the assault happen, but we didn't see how she got home. Like, is there other parties involved in this operation? This sick thing that's going on, or yeah.
Yeah,
Like
imagine they're
who's
clearly not
transporting?
working alone on this, and I don't imagine him driving her home by himself. Like
Exactly.
he's probably got hired people that he trusts, and if anything, that may tie to the whole mob thing.
And he probably assumes Jackie will be a loyal part of the crew.
Yeah, and given his past work experience, he's like, Jackie's an ideal candidate for all this, and Jackie has no morals, so I can use that.
Well, and remember the old security guard was just let go. So was he let go? Was he killed because of him questioning what Sinclair was doing? Because I think that the security guard was probably the one that took Dominique home and then was like, wait a second, what the fuck? Because she was, roofied.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't just drunk. Like, she's like coming and going as far as memories and shit starting to come back to her, and which is a more, I don't want to say classic sign because it's never happened to me and I couldn't tell you from experience, but from what I've seen and what I've read, that's a normal side effect of being roofied. Is it like your memory comes and goes, and then eventually you can start to piece a lot of it together, but not in the moment. You have zero control, and then all of a sudden things start coming back to you. So I don't think that she was just drunk. I think that she was roofied, and the fact that the security guard around that same time when all that stuff happened no longer works for them. I don't know if he's dead because after he did that, he objected, or if he was just like, man, I can't do this shit anymore. So I think that Jackie's going to seek him out to find out kind of what's going on too.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great point. Great points. Any other thoughts?
I think that's the whole episode.
um, yeah, like I said, we're back. We've been gone a month, but we'll be putting these up every week. Other shows we're going to be covering. A lot of good stuff coming up. Very excited about that. We're definitely doing Game of Thrones. um, but yeah, we appreciate everyone listening, and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Stay woke.